to bring this up to a sort of a current phenomenon, I want to mention something here and then see if you can reflect on it in light of what has happened since.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so one thing he mentions is, it is no great harm if they learn incidentally to be dubious of the infallibility of the popular press or the more dogmatic pundits in the Sunday reviews. And then later on he says, there is good reason to think that radio and TV will once more restore the ascendancy of the spoken word. So he's talking about two different things there, but initially the students picking holes in the infallibility of the press. And the reason I bring that up is, obviously today I think there's more doubt about the press and the media,
yes,
than there maybe ever has been.
That's right.
And then to just say that last line again, there is good reason to think that radio and TV will once more restore the ascendancy of the spoken word. I think it's fair to say that hasn't happened.
No, I think it's very fair.
So, do you have any reflections on media and your experience of that and your consumption of that?
Well, my view on that, insofar as the value, is that there's a tendency of newspapers and the media being partisan, whereas we'll do the thinking for you. That's one way of putting it. Like if you take the Guardian and the Daily Telegraph, they are mirror images of one another. They're absolutely partisan. And it annoys me intensely, though I try to conceal it, that we have become Guardian subscribers. I don't mind becoming a Guardian subscriber, provided there's another subscription as well. For instance, the Wall Street Journal is less partisan than the New York Times or the Guardian, which mirrors New York Times to the letter. But I think that the world has become more polarized, and therefore there's greater temptation of papers and of the media to become partisan of their side. And I heard someone analysing this, saying that why is the New York Times so unbalanced in its coverage? Because the readers of the New York Times want them that way. So to a certain extent, they're giving the people what they want.
Yes.
And why are people in the Telegraph getting all that stuff? Because the readers want it.
I suppose you're still trying to pull out what you can. You haven't given up on the whole enterprise entirely.
I don't think so, no. But pretty close to.
Yeah. One thing I experienced in America was the vast amount of discussion about the church, and sometimes it can get angry and all that, church politics or whatever. Do you keep an eye on any of that stuff as well?
I do.
And what are your kind of, who do you find interesting with regard to church things or spiritual life or whatever?
Well, I would find, first of all, that there's a gross lack of balance on both sides. That again, the New York Times and the Daily Telegraph is reproduced in religious terms, and you just see the same thing coming out, which I find very, very distressing. And I'm dealing with, well, I don't know if that's the right term, but I meet people, not many of them, who are rabid conservatives. Now, rabid, I mean the Pope should be expelled from the church. But that I find very distressing. And these people are good people, good religious practicing Catholics, and very intelligent people. But some of them are hopelessly partisan and not making that much effort to see the point of view of another person. They tend to say that well, anyone who isn't violently opposed to abortion isn't a Catholic. Now, mind you, I wouldn't be far removed from that. For instance, I couldn't possibly vote for Democrats. I'd be that strong. But the others, at the same time, I don't condemn them, don't say the Pope should be expelled from the church because he's going rather lightly on those. But the partisanship, that's developed, and it's the most distressing thing. Well, it's a distressing thing I find in modern life. Or if not, you've got to be very careful. Now, if I'm speaking to X, I must be very careful what I say, and I must try to get the three topics on which we tend to agree discussed.